Concussions are very common in sports, especially hockey, football, and soccer. Those are the main sports that get contacted and are most physical. There are other sports that do get concussions, which is basketball and cheerleading, which is the second most affected. But they don't always mean you get knocked out and unconscious. It just usually means that your child's mental state has changed and your brain has received trauma. If you do happen to get unconscious and knocked out, guidelines have changed where you do have to go to the hospital. If you do go to the hospital, they do scans, a CAT scan to see if there's bleeding in the brain. If you happen to have bleeding in the brain, they send you off immediately to get the bleeding out successfully. If you do not happen to have bleeding in the brain, they do other tests to see the severity of the concussion. If the severity of the concussion is low, it should only take 10 days with symptoms for your concussion to go away. If your severity of the concussion is much higher, then it'll take several months for your concussion to actually go away. If you do happen to have a concussion on top of a concussion, the symptoms are much worse and will last longer. They do suggest that if you do happen to have a concussion on top of a concussion, first of all, you should have been sitting out. And second, to go to the hospital to get tested again. When your medical elevation is needed to determine if a child does lose consciousness, hospital attention is needed, once I said. Many colleges and leagues have testing before season to see if your attention, speed of information, and memory is good. Once they see it's good, then you're good for the season. If you do happen to get a concussion within the season, they do give you another test that you take within the 48 hours of getting a concussion. This does help many people in to see where you're at. If you were at 120% the first time and you got down to 50, you obviously have a concussion, and they suggest to sleep and stay out of the sunlight. To prevent a concussion from actually happening, they say to strengthen up your neck muscle, mainly because your neck muscle is what controls your head and your spine and everything like that. And if it's not controlled and you don't strengthen it, your head is basically on a noodle, and who wants that? They also changed guidelines in football where you can no longer do head tackles, which also brought the statistics low to 50%. This helped many college athletes and NFL players actually get to see their family and be around their family, because many football players happen to have concussions throughout their years and on top of each other, which lost them to lose memory. Concussions do happen to hurt many families and stuff like that. So to prevent this from happening, they made certain guidelines and rules to set so people are less likely to get a concussion.